All right. Knicks lose. Exciting game. Interesting game. Game that's certainly going to give us a lot to talk about. As Kemba Walker is still, saying his hellos, saying his whatevers to all the people on the Celtics. Obviously, this was a emotional game for Walker. Emotional game apparently for Evan Fournier as well, going back home. There's going to be a lot of conversation after this one about a lot of things. Most prominently, the decision of Tom Thibodeau to stick Kemba Walker on the bench for the last 9 games. And Kemba Walker obviously coming into Boston tonight and giving forth his best game of the season, largely running the offense in the first half for stretches, but also certainly there in the third quarter when he scored 17 points and looked like the Kemba Walker of old. There's going to be talk about Evan Fournier, 2 games against Boston this year, easily his 2 best games against the team that traded for him and then essentially decided that they didn't want to go into the tax to pay him this summer. Also, some great defense from Evan Fournier, or at least for good defense. Better defense than we've seen in a very long time. And better defense, I think, by and large, from most Knicks in the second half, especially to come out there in the third quarter. That's what really turned the game around. It's what got them back into the game, even aside from all the offensive exploits. And then, as I see Forgotten NYC with not our first super chat comment, but I'll get back to the one from Ryan above. Forgotten NYC, I don't want Julius on my basketball team anymore. It was tough to watch tonight. Yeah, and Jeremy E here. Kemba and Fournier helped their trade values tonight. Nice. Unfortunately, we have a 9-figure problem. Obviously, Julius Randle just signed for over $100 million this offseason. So let me just read Julius Randle's stat line. 6 for 19 overall. 1 for 7 from 3. 9 rebounds, 7 assists, 4 turnovers, 20 points. You can have that stat line and have a really strong game. Certainly, he did not have a strong game. He had a poor game, and I'm not just talking about the fact, as Wally alluded to, and I think Mike Breen earlier in the game. He just has no confidence right now from long range, or his confidence goes in and out because he sure looks like he has confidence sometimes when he's shooting it from deep. Made 5 threes in the second half versus whoever the hell they played the other night when it was too little too late. But the thing that stood out for me with Randle for this game, and what has stood out now for Randle really all season long, has been his. I mean, I'm not even going to call it inconsistent defense. It's just there is a lack of competitive spirit, lack of fire to his defensive performance this year, and he has moments where he'll hit the boards hard, and he will make a nice contest at the rim. He had one in this game, and then I think it was an offensive rebound and got put back up. But it's not consistent enough. And what really stood out to me about the first, and by the way, I don't want to single out Randle because I thought Alec Burks also had a rough game. He tried hard on defense, but just, Burks, but that's different though. Burks has been he goes through stretches of the season where he looks like a little bit of a space cadet. He's in one of those stretches now. I'm not going to shit on Alec Burks, but he didn't have a great game. But for Randle, it's a little different, because they're down, obviously. I'm burying the lead. The Knicks didn't have 6 players for health and safety protocols tonight. For anybody who doesn't know, it was Barrett, Obi, Quickly, Grimes, Knox, and Deuce McBride. So basically all the guys that make us feel good about watching this team this year. And they also missing Derrick Rose with a bum ankle. Um, and I kind of hoped for slash expected, probably hoped for is the better word, uh, that we would see right out of the gate an inspired effort, an inspired whatever you want to call it on defense on the defensive end. And we didn't get that. And why does Julius get tagged with that after this game when it wasn't just him? I would say the whole starting unit really didn't give any kind of a great effort on defense. Why does he get tagged with it? Because he's the leader. He's the leader of the team. As the comment just said, it's a 9-figure problem because he's making over $100 million. And then when you combine that with an offensive game this year that is just, I mean, let's just say it, he is the least efficient, truly high usage player in the league. And there are all kinds of numbers to back that up. Actually, let me rephrase that. There are probably some, like, I'm talking about the guys that are in like the top 30, 40 in usage rate who actually play big minutes. There are guys who probably have worse efficiencies in terms of just effective field goal percentage. But what struck me, and I was thinking about it today, what struck me as I was watching Randle in this game. And sure enough, and again, game to game plus minus is like, whatever. But you go game by game by game. That's play really any minutes without Julius Randle. But every Knick has a guy or two guys, or in Obi Toppin's case, 10 guys that they're a really significant positive. They're a big plus with when they play with these 2, 3, 4, however many guys. For the bench guys, it's more. For the starters, it's less. Except Julius Randle. Julius Randle has one guy that when he plays with him, it's a significant positive for the plus minus. And who is that? Who do you think? Obi Toppin. Everybody else, the next best guy he has, next best rotation player he has in terms of plus minus when he plays with that guy, Rose. And it's like a negative, it's like just under the median. It's like right around 0. And it's just because when he's on the floor, it's usually Randle ball. And Randle ball worked great last year, and Randle ball is not working great this year. And we have played 30 games. It's 30 games worth of, let's see if we could run Randle ball back with these extra pieces, these additional pieces to make Randle ball easier for the aforementioned Julius Randle. It's not happening. Turn on my light for a second so I can. There we go. It's not happening, and on nights like this where it seemed like every time he got the ball, it was slow. Not every time. There were some times, I want to acknowledge, a couple of nice drives there in the second half. A couple of nice drawing doubles, kickouts. Alec Burks, he found Alec Burks in the corner. That was all Julius Randle drawing attention. So I don't want to act like he doesn't do anything positive, because he does. He's doing positive things every game. But in comparison to last year, there is no comparison. And I know I should be really spending more time talking about Kemba and Evan. They had fantastic games, and that is a big positive, whether it's for trade value, whether it's for what's best for this team moving forward. We could talk about Tibbs and whether that decision was right or wrong. I didn't disagree with that at the time. Most people didn't disagree with that at the time. The numbers were what the numbers were. I know we were all excited after that Hawks game. I remember that. There were very real advanced numbers reasons to do the move. Bench Kemba. There were very real individual numbers to do the move. Walker going into the tank and really going into a pretty bad slump after those first 6 games of the season. Like, there were a lot of reasons for it. But again, ultimately, it all comes back to Randle, because even Walker's struggles, it was more than anything, it was Julius and Walker inability to play together. Their inability to play together that it comes back to. It's not like during those first 15 games, or even the last 9 that Walker started. I think it's been no, it's more than that. Sorry, it's like 14, 13, 14. I lose track easily. It's not like, oh, Julius is doing pretty good if he just had some more help. It wasn't that. It was, well, all of these guys were struggling. And, you know, what are you gonna do? You bench Randall? No. You're gonna bench the guy that you just gave three fully guaranteed years to, making $18 million a year? No. You're gonna bench the former number third pick, 3 overall pick in the draft? No. You're gonna bench Kemba Walker. And it made sense on defense, and he had been struggling individually. So again, there's logic to it. Did it work? No. Does the decision look potentially questionable at this point? Yeah, it does. But when you go back, and again, I don't want to make too much of this. It's one game. It was in Boston. He had the energy flow and the whole thing. But at the same time, like you saw, as we did at other points in time this season, the Charlotte game when he again went home. A couple other moments. When you put the ball in Walker's hands and he gets to run the show, is it going to be perfect? No, it's not going to be perfect. He's not the all-star he once was. But it's an interesting look. It's a different look. And it's a look that, and this is the last thing I'll say, and then I'll go to some other of the super chats. Ryan, I didn't forget about you. It's impossible to watch a game like this and not at least wonder, or for me, I wondered, and I'll admit it. I don't know if anybody else will say it. Like, what would a team look like? What would this team look like with just all of these dynamic guards that they have? Obviously, a bunch of them are out right now, but you got Walker, you got Rose, you got, Quickly, you got McBride now. You got Burks when he's going right. All of these guards who could put the ball on the floor and fucking Fournier. What would the ball look like if all of these guards had the ball in their hands more, and you just played off of all of them, and it was constantly the role of the bigs on this team was just dive, catch lobs, you know, and that was it. And you had, whether it's just a stretch four or out there instead. It begs. Is it a contender? No, of course not. Is that team's not a contender? That team, maybe is a lower rung playoff team. Maybe it's a play-in team. I don't know, but it'd probably be more fun to watch than what we watch oftentimes with, when Randall gets his moments. Because again, is it fucking make or miss league? Made these shots last year. He's not making them this year. 30 games in, and it takes a toll on the rest of his game, and it's frustrating to watch. And I'm not gonna, I've gotten on here a lot of nights and defended him because of what he earned last year, and I don't know what the statute of limitations is on that, or it's probably the wrong legal term. My lawyer friends will get mad at me for that one. But it just, how long do we consider last year when we're assessing this year? I don't know, but it's starting to get very frustrating. That's all. So Ryan, our first super chat. Lots of guys taking advantage of opportunities and extended minutes last few games, just like last year's Knicks. Got to be happy with that. Yeah, I mean, there's definitely stuff to be happy with in this game, but I'm not going to be like they would have won this game if they had another guy or two, because Boston was missing a bunch of guys too. I think Boston had more of their important guys than we had of our important guys. But again, what does that speak to this Knicks team? They had on opening night, starting point guard, starting shooting guard, starting power forward. They had all of their centers, and they had Alec Burks, who's supposed to be their, seventh man. So, yeah, they were down guys, but Boston was down guys too. That's not an excuse. And it's certainly not an excuse for how they came out to open the game with just, again, against a team that played last night, which was really frustrating. That Boston played a tough game last night, and they came out and they were the more assertive team, and they were the more energetic team, and the whole thing. Okay. Let's keep going with our super chats. Lunas and Marat. Zero clue what you do with the rotation. Also, Mitch played man. Yeah, Chet, listen. It's 4 years now. We see these moments from Mitch. Sometimes they last a quarter, sometimes they last a half, sometimes they last a game. In the beginning of the season, it lasted like 4 or 5 games. I'll take it. It's a great sign. It's funny the comment before about increasing trade value. Mitch didn't have great numbers. He only, took 2 shots, but had 8 rebounds, 4 on the offensive glass. Had a couple steals. He's a guy that that's the trade value guy for me because I don't know. It's year 4. I'm tired of ooh, yes, Mitch is playing mad tonight. Mitch is engaged tonight. Here we go. I guess that's fine for a backup, which is about what he profiles to be at this point. His backup center. So yeah. Tyler Michaels. I'll probably get yelled at. I won't. Trust me, I'm not yelling at anybody tonight. You can say whatever the fuck you want. But I thought this was one of the most impressive efforts of the season with protocols. Maybe proud to be a Knicks fan. Yeah, I mean, look, they. I'll say this: they were down 15 at halftime. Watching that game, if you would have told me, "Oh, this is gonna be a 30-point loss," I would have said, "Yes, fine, great." That's what I would. If you would have said to me at halftime, "Is this going to be a game the Knicks take the lead in the fourth quarter, or is this going to be a game they lose by 30?" I would have said, without question, a game they lose by 30. So from that perspective, yes, it did make you proud. But I guess my hesitancy there is how much of this game was just 2 guys basically showing their old teammates, showing their old front office, showing the fans, showing their fucking coach maybe that hey, I can do shit. Now, the comeback to that, obviously, mostly for Fournier, but even a little bit Kemba Walker, is, well, look at what the fuck happens when you're assertive. Because Fournier, especially, for much of this season, we've all been yelling and screaming at the TV about how not assertive he was. There was a moment in the first half where he had an open 3-pointer and he put the ball on the floor and he ended up passing it off or taking a tough shot. So, Tom Piccolo sent out a tweet about it in the first half. That's been all year for Fournier. So where the fuck is this all the time? So it's but I'm a little less sympathetic to him. Walker though, Walker's a little bit of a different story. I don't know who the FU was directed at, but it was directed at someone. So I'm you should be proud of those guys, I guess. I'm not sure that there was anything else tonight that was terribly impressive. But, Noel and Burks and Randall upped the defensive intensity a little bit there in the third too, so that's nice. And they didn't give in, so that's nice too. Anthony Sixto, and by the way, I don't want to come off as harsh, but you know me. How many times last year I came on here drinking the Kool-Aid, just absolutely drinking the Kool-Aid with this team after losses. Where I would feel like we're really seeing signs, a lot to be hopeful, a lot to be excited about, a lot to be yes, I'm down with this. This is heading in the right direction. So I don't want anybody thinking that I'm not capable of celebrating moral losses. This one, I'm not sure I put quite in that category. Anthony Sixto, there was a sequence of a Burks travel. Yes, I remember that one. A dumb Kemba foul out. Yeah. Well, the Kemba foul out was because Fournier was hobbling up the court and Kemba just fouled to try to stop the clock. Should he have known there? He had 5 fouls and they need him on the court. Maybe. Fournier stepping out. Yeah, that was bad too. All with the game in reach. We seriously lack that leader who gets guys collectively refocused on the floor. I think that was the intention to get Walker here, to get Kemba here. Hasn't really happened. I don't think Julius is capable of being that leader. I don't know if I thought he was capable of being that leader last year. I think you're better served. I think some of these kids are better off being that leader. I think RJ to think he's that leader. He's not. Rose, obviously, but again, Rose isn't a rah-rah guy. But yeah, no, they don't have that guy. But it's tough to find that guy. Emile Boumansour. What's going on, Emile? How are you? The short rotation came back to haunt us in the fourth. Yes, 100%. 100% the short rotation came back to haunt them in the fourth. And that is why, look, given where the game was at in the end of the third, like I'm not upset about the fourth quarter at all. I'm upset about a couple of the possessions that just happened. But again, you make what appears to be boneheaded plays and stuff when you're tired. Um, and I'm not gonna. But at the same time, how many minutes these guys play tonight? So Fournier 43 minutes, Burks 41, Walker 37, Randall 41. You know, it's a lot of minutes, but they didn't play last night or anything. They were going up against the Celtics, who Tatum played 36, Brown played 32, Smart played 34. and that and the rotation or the short rotation, that's not an excuse for how they came out in the first quarter, that's for sure. But yeah, it absolutely hurt them in the fourth, which is why I'm not killing them really for the fourth, but Fournier and Kemba both need to have stretches with the ball in their hands. Maybe more than stretches. Their skill set has obviously been misused in this offense. It's what is this offense? This offense is, as I've used the analogy before, it's Julius Randle is the sun, and everybody orbits around Julius Randle. And you do that, and you do it again, and you do it again, you do it again, you do it again. That's what the offense was last year. They tried to adjust that offense this year to bring a little bit from column A and create a column B. And it was clunky, and it's why, when you go through, and quite frankly, this is not a Knicks exclusive issue. The team that they just beat, who just got back to 500 tonight, and has supposedly 2 of the 10, best young players in the league, they have this issue. There's a lot of teams that have this issue because it's really hard to find a top guy who is both good at calling his own number and is good at playing with others. It's what makes the guys who do it well so special. And it's like 2 categories of guys that can do it success. It's the guys who, even when all the attention is focused on them, guys like Kevin Durant, they're still obscenely efficient. There's the Durant category, and by the way, he's also a pretty good passer too. And then there's a LeBron category, who makes, put decent players around him, and he's going to make them a whole lot better. And then everybody else, all the other stars in the league, kind of fall into this next category. Now, I'm not, I think Julius Randle is having a season that's even a notch down from those guys because he hasn't been nearly as efficient as your, Jason Tatum's and Jaylen Browns of the world. I mean, shit, he hasn't even been efficient as your OG Ananobi's of the world or whatever. So I'm not going to say like it's easy, but it's like it's back to the drawing board with this stuff because you're right, it's not working. But I don't know what you do with the team as currently constituted. Hannibal Miles, glad to see Kemba on the floor. Burks didn't have a good game overall, but I think his poor play was when he played point guard as opposed to playing off ball. Yeah, that's the one thing. I don't know where they come out of it when they get healthy, but the Burks starting point guard thing, I think that may need to end. I think that might be time to end it. But again, then where do you go? You go Rose? Okay, we'll try Rose. That's fine. You go back to Kemba? I don't know. But there's been more than one person who's reached out to me via DM or on here or wherever with this year, saying the Knicks have a Julius Randle problem, and I fought it. And it's getting harder to fight it. Forgotten NYC. Great question. Is Kemba back in the rotation? I mean, Jesus Christ. I have no idea. I don't say Jesus Christ at the question. It's a good question. I don't know. This from Fred Katz. Sounds like Fournier is dealing with something in his shoulder, where he's been wearing tape the last few games. 30 games into it, most of the guys are nicked up with different things, Thibodeau said. He plays through things. He's a tough guy. Yeah. Um, is Kemba back in the rotation? I don't know. Do you guys like seeing Deuce McBride? I do. I don't know. My gut feeling says no. You're gonna ask me, is that right or wrong? I have no idea. I really don't know. There has been absolutely nothing about this team other than just the bench guys, unless you want to start all five bench guys, or at least the OB Rose quickly, Burks group that was great for a while. And now I don't even know what happens is with Burks, whatever. That's been the only thing that anyone could point to this year and be like, see, that works. That works. Something about that works. That works. Nothing else can you point to and be like, that's sustainable if we just do XYZ. Because every time you point to something or like a combo that works or whatever, there's always another thing standing in the way of that thing being able to be the regular thing. And I think a lot of it is lineup construction, not lineup construction, is roster construction and where they have the money and who are the guys that can't be moved and who are the guys that can be moved. Overratedness. When the kids get back, play them. Tibbs is enough of a structure for them to learn. We have to think long term. It is not tanking if it's going to be similar results with the overpaid vets. Yeah, I wrote about this week. And some of the difficult questions this team is going to have to answer. Not today, not tomorrow, maybe not even next week or the week after, but they're going to look up, and now they're 2 games into this 18-game stretch that is quote-unquote easier games. They're not all easy games, obviously. Tonight was not an easy game, especially with the health and safety stuff. But they don't – the records may have changed now, but when they began this 18-game stretch they're now 2 games into, not a single top 6 team in either conference. Where are they going to be at the end of those 18 games? Because if they're going to be 6-10, then yeah, you fucking absolutely better believe you play the kids. If they're 10-6 and they get back to 500, maybe a different story. If they're 9-9 or 10-8, that's where it gets tricky. And I don't envy any of the decision makers from now until the end of the year, or at least until the trade deadline. All right, hang on one sec. Oh, sorry, YouTube's having a moment. Okay, next up, Emile Boumansour back for more, and Josh Richardson had the game of his life. Yes, Josh Richardson and Peyton Pritchard. Peyton Pritchard had a nice rookie season at moments. Has not played well this year, not shot well this year. My understanding is he has not played well either. He's another one. Hold on. Richardson, who Dallas fucking didn't put on the court in the playoffs last year because couldn't make a goddamn shot, tonight went 5 of 7 from deep. Peyton Pritchard goes 4 of 7 from deep. Now, were all of those shots open? Absolutely not. Several of those were well contested. But again, once is an accident, twice is a coincidence, 3 times is a trend. Well, when you're fucking 30 games into the year and every night these, questionable shooters have good games against you, it's because they're a little bit too comfortable. And it's not a coincidence anymore. Not doesn't happen every game, but it happens a little bit too much for your liking, especially compared to last year. Dom Cappuccini, what's going on, Dom? It's going to be hard to take advantage of these winnable 16 games if we can't get our depth back. Well, yes, and I have no idea when any of these players are coming back. Zero idea. But, needless to say, if they're out for any extended period of time, then different conversation. The play-in is still right there, but we really need to go on a run. Do we seem close to you? Oh, my goodness. Do they seem close to what? Close to what? It's so difficult to talk about the team because every good thing you point to is pretty much happens without the guy who's supposed to be their best player, without him on the floor. I like they have played stretches of fantastic defense this year when it's the bench guys. They've played stretches of fantastic offense, mostly with the bench guys. Um, do they seem close to me? No, they don't seem close to me. It doesn't mean they can't turn it around, but I don't know. I know they don't seem close to making the play in. I mean, like, are they a better team? Let's go through the teams again really quickly. Are they a better team than Boston? No, I don't think so. Are they a better team than Philly? No. Are they a better team than Atlanta? No. Well, those are your teams in the 8, 9, 10 spots right now. Are they better than Charlotte? Charlotte's the worst defense in the history of fucking the National Basketball Association. Not quite, but close. But they have an identity. They score, and they know how to score, and they know how to play, and they play fast, and they jack up threes, and they whiz the ball around, and they move the ball up the floor. They fly around. That's an identity. They go into every game, and they know what they're going to do. What's the Knicks' identity right now? They don't have one. Their bench is their identity. And the bench is fucking gone right now. And then you look at Washington. If I'm the Knicks and I'm like, all right, I'm really hoping for that 10th seed, I'm looking at Washington probably falling back down to earth. They have fallen back down to earth, but can they lose enough games? Right now, the Knicks are 2 games back of Washington. Can the Knicks make up 2 games on the Wizards? Yeah, absolutely they can. So what? Can that get them the 9 seed, the 10th seed? Sure, maybe. But what I need to get back to the sense that foundation last year you knew what they were foundationally. They executed it every night. They didn't always win. They looked outmatched sometimes, but you knew what they were. I'd love to get back to a team that we know what they are and they can do the thing that they do well enough to be competitive on most nights. That's all I want to get back to. Slacker hero. Hard to overreact to this game and Kemba's good game in general because he hasn't played in so long. Are we sure he can't play the starter minutes and be consistent? Again, I'm sorry, I'm repeating myself a lot. To me, it all comes back to what does the offense look like? Because the offense that we saw in the third quarter was everything. Kemba Walker was like, all right, I'm getting after it. I'm doing my thing. Get the fuck out of my way. Except for a possession here or there where it ran through Randle, but really it ran through him. And then Fournier when Kemba needed a possession off, but it was really through Kemba. And a lot of through Fournier too, because those guys are guys who have been used to having the ball in their hands their entire career. And now they've come in here and weren't able to adjust. And then you look at Julius Randle. Can Julius Randle adjust to being a number 2 or a number 3? Well, sure, shit looks like he can't. So again, if you're asking me, can he play starter minutes and be consistent? Yeah, maybe, but where does that leave Randle? Doesn't matter where that leaves Randle. Apparently, Kemba Walker just said, I know I should be playing. Well, looks like it. CT Pittman. Seriously, what's the purpose of having Selden taking up a roster spot for what? That's fair. That's fair. Shout out to you, CT, as always. I don't know that there's anybody walking around out there on the street that I'm dying for them to get. Maybe he's a good practice player. I don't know. Maybe doing favor to an agent. I'm not sure. But it's fair comment. Didn't help him tonight. Hush Zoo. I think if Fournier gets moved, Kemba gets back his point guard spot. Well, first of all, I don't think Fournier is getting moved. I don't know about that. Again, it kind of goes back to Kemba's a guy that you play a lot of minutes if you're going to run the offense through him, at least in part, or a decent amount of the time. Because he's not going to – because if you're not running – I think ultimately if you're looking at what Tibbs decided 20 games into the season, it was that Kemba was unable to adjust to being the 3rd or 4th guy on the totem pole. And he doesn't give us enough on defense to make up for his inability to make that adjustment. And if we're going to win games, we're going to play through Randle. And so I can't keep sending Kemba out there. his choice was to either keep Kemba to do what he did, keep Kemba in the starting lineup, and then start to run the offense through Kemba and tell Julius, you're going to take a back seat to this guy who just got here. Guess he didn't want to do that. Or continue to wait for those guys to figure out how to play off of each other better. And again, Tibbs said it in the presser. It's like 20 games turns into 30 games, 30 games turns into 40 games, 40 games. I don't know. Again, I'm a lot of shrugs for me tonight because I don't have fucking answers. Not with this rotation roster built the way it is. Robert Harris, time to start looking at draft boards. Amen. Slacker heroes, start Deuce. Oh, shit. I'm not going to get an argument from me there. Robert Cross, my man, Robert Cross. Took me a while to get here, John. Oh, here we go. I'd trade Randle. Too inconsistent and is standing in Obi's way. Hashtag 53 wins. Yeah. I have a feeling we're going to start getting more and more of those. What would this guy do? What would this guy do? I don't know. Let's see. LDS. Hold on. I lost you, LDS. Give me a sec to get you back. The entire season is different if Randle shoots his percentages from last year. I really think it's that simple, and the rest is just noise. Yes. Yes. Yes, to a certain extent. I still don't know, because if Randle was shooting the percentages that he was shooting last season, I still wonder how Kemba would look playing off of him and playing, a secondary or tertiary role. But if Randle was shooting the way he was shooting last season, do I think the Knicks would be fine and we wouldn't be having any of these conversations? Yeah, I do. Or whatever conversations we would be having would be much less dire. So yeah, I don't disagree, but like that's what happens when the best player on the team, who made the All NBA second team last year, goes from that an eighth in MVP to being, by some metrics, one of the least helpful players in the entire league, and that is not hyperbole. CT Pittman, back for more. Always appreciated CT. Regarding Julius, maybe his job was to come in and change the culture, which he did. Now it's time for someone else to take the mantle and go to the next level. But the question is, who is that guy? By the way, a couple more comments from Kemba after the game. Kemba admits it's been a rough couple of years with injuries he's dealt with, but that everyone goes through tough times. I've had great career thus far. This is courtesy of Tim Bontemps, by the way. I've had a great career thus far, and a lot of things have gone my way. It's a tough time right now, but I feel like I'm built for any situation. And then this is courtesy of Fred Katz. Yeah, this is the quote that I said before. Oh, no, I want to play. Oh, no, Kemba, when asked if he wants to stay in New York, his answer was, I want to play. Oh. Yeah, I mean, this is going to turn into an issue. And I don't know. The issue may be resolved soon. It's after December 15th. They could trade Kemba Walker, tonight if they want to. Although with the way health and safety's been going, I'm not sure I'd advise that. It's not in a good situation, because here's the thing. Could you imagine now if Kemba goes back to the bench and Randle keeps playing like he's playing? Like, what do you do then? Back to CT's comment. The question is, who is that guy? If you're asking who is there a guy on this roster that can take Julius Randle's place as the best player on the team and the guy that everything revolves around? No. The answer is no. And I'm the biggest Obi Toppin fan in the world. Love Obi Toppin. I love Emmanuel Quickly. I love all these kids. McBride, Grimes, the whole thing. None of them are that sort of player. You know, Derrick Rose is that sort of player for like 15, 20 minutes a night. He can't do it anymore. So if you trade Randall, there's a giant black hole. Now, there are a select few teams every year who overcome not having a true go-to guy, and they at the very least are feisty. Almost never, almost never do those teams are those teams able to even make the playoffs when it used to be 1 through 8. Now one of those teams could probably make the play-in. Where it's like, the closest example that I could think of a team over the years that has made the playoffs and actually done something without a true guy, even sometimes a younger version of a guy who in a few years he's going to become that guy. I'm thinking the first Jason Kidd Milwaukee team, right, had Giannis on it and Chris Middleton. Now Giannis still wasn't very good, or he was better, but I think maybe it was in his third year. So yeah, maybe I don't think he was an All-Star year. I think maybe that was his last non-All-Star year. I hope I'm not wrong about that. But you could tell it was coming, and he gave them a lot. The Nets team that was what were they, the 6th seed that lost to Philly before they got Durant. Even that year, D'Angelo Russell was an All-Star on that team. Did he deserve to be an All-Star? Probably not. It's just really, really, really rare and really, really, really hard to build a team that could win more games than it loses without a guy that's like the central focus. Now, the Knicks are not winning more games than they're losing right now. They're losing more games than they're winning. So there's the opportunity cost maybe is not there. And we also don't know if you were to explore the market for Randall, what are you getting back? I don't think you're getting back a player that's capable of being, again, that guy. But again, I'll go back to something I said at the very beginning of the live stream, and then we'll finish up in a sec. Here's a good example. The Clipper team. I referenced this in my newsletter recently. The Clipper team, after they traded Blake Griffin, they had a slightly negative net rating, and they were a game over 500 after they made that trade, and their best player was Tobias Harris. I don't know. But anyway, what would the team look like if it just ran through all these guards? And that would be interesting. Be fun to watch. Okay, I think this is our last super chat, and then I'm getting out of here. You can tell my voice is hoarse. Hopefully not because I got my booster shot today, although I did. I just hope I'm don't have the same effects as I did after I got my second vaccine shot. Bronx Rivera, is it possible to pivot, jettison Randall, and hand the keys to Kemba? The notion that they would do that. I mean, Kemba seems like he's got much closer to 1 foot out the door than he does ready to take the mantle. And again, even if behind the scenes they were like, I wonder what this team would look like if we gave the keys to Kemba and jettison Randall. Can't do that for a month and a half. Can't trade Randall until February 3rd. So, I don't know. One more from CT because CT is the man. I know there's no one else on this roster that could take us to the next level. My question to you was, who would you like to see that person be? If you could bring in anyone tradable in the league, this is a good place to see. CT always knows my sweet spot. He always knows how to make me really think. Anyone realistic. So the assumption I'm guessing is that I'm trading Randall out. You know what? I'm not even going to make it that specific. If there's of anyone in the league who I think is potentially gettable, who would I want them to get? Potentially gettable. Never been a huge Bradley Beal guy. I think we know what Bradley Beal is if he's the best player on the team. I missed 2 super chats. I'll get them. Andrew's getting them. Hold on. Before I answer that, Ryan Huang, I'll second a retooling. We can build a better supporting cast than Julius Kemba Fournier for the next star. Julius plus a star doesn't do it for us. Again, anybody who questions Julius's ability to play off of a true star, you're warranted. Good comment. And then Emil Boumansour with one more. Thank you, Emil, for contributing tonight. Last comment for me. I noticed settling for bad shots at the detriment of the offense. Yeah, and Boston fans. Oh, I think I might have lost you guys for a second. So I was just talking about Tatum settling for bad shots at the detriment of the offense. I think some Boston fans have been complaining about this for years. And but again, I think with Tatum it's a little bit more forgivable because he's whatever he is. He's 23 years old. Julius, I think we're all a little bit more cognizant of like, this is not going to, we saw the best that this could be. Could that have been the high point, and it goes down from there. I'm seeing some people in the the chat say SGA. SGA is the obvious answer. I would kill to get SGA, but I don't think SGA is gettable, because to me the rumor that, and we don't even know if this rumor is true, the notion that SGA was on the table on draft night last year, I think the notion was that he would be available for like the first pick or something, like a guaranteed thing. Like, I think if the Knicks went to Oklahoma City and be like, we'll give you 3 first-round picks and RJ Barrett for Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, I think the Thunder would tell Leon Rose to fuck off. Shout out to Fuddy in the chat also. I just saw you there, Fuddy. So I don't think SGA is realistic. Who's realistic? Man, I love me some Emmanuel Quickly and Obi Toppin, but Cole Anthony would look pretty good in a Knick uniform right about now, and they could have gotten him last year. But who is realistic for them to get? Jaylen Brown, somebody mentioned. I like Jaylen Brown. I don't know that I see Jaylen Brown as a guy who would be any better as a top player on a team, than I don't see him as a top player on a team. David Smith, a man to my heart. DeJounte Murray. Ooh, DeJounte. Yeah, but again, if like he's going to be an unrestricted free agent, I think, in what, 3 years? 2.5 years? He's not a star, but I wonder if you added him to some of the other young talent that we have, could that get you somewhere interesting? I don't know. Someone mentioned Cat. I mean, I'd roll the dice with Cat. Some people are divided on Cat. I'd roll the dice with Cat. A few people are mentioning De'Aaron Fox. And overratedness says Cat, and you get Devin Booker after. Yeah, maybe. That'd be nice. De'Aaron Fox. Listen, De'Aaron Fox is another guy. He needs to change the scenery badly in Sacramento. I've always liked De'Aaron Fox. He has not had a good year. He's been bad. He's out right now with join the club, health and safety protocols. Yeah, I see, but that's the thing is like, and I apologize, I'm not going to have a great answer to this, but like, anytime I think of a name, I'm like, well, why the hell would that team trade that player? I guess Fox is probably my answer by default, because you could probably get Fox, and I do like Fox. I do think Fox has some untapped potential, but thinking through the rest of the league, man, if they could ever get Murray, what I wouldn't do for Murray. Murray's really good. Okay. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you, everybody. I think I got everybody in the super chat. One more from Don Cappuccini. Extremely conflicted between Kemba and Deuce. I don't know anything at all, but if I had to wager a guess, if I had to place a token down right now, I would wager that situation is going to be resolved for you pretty soon. I at this point, I'd be pretty surprised if Kemba was on the team, at least past the deadline. Judging by and again, I didn't watch it live, but how everybody seems to be describing the tenor of his post-game comments, it does not seem like a situation where, it's just he's going to go back to the bench and like everything's going to be fine. So, and I don't say that because I think he's going to create waves. Clearly, he's been the best teammate of the fucking century for how he's handled this whole thing, and that is another reason to commend him. And if you want to use that as an additional reason to point the finger of blame at Julius, who, a lot of people talk about his on-court demeanor and how he is, when things are not going well. It's different story. All right. That's it. CT, you did stump me. I'm going to think about this some more, though. And I will see everybody. When am I going to see everybody? Tuesday? You'd think I would know the schedule by now by heart, but of course I don't. Yeah, I'll see you on Tuesday. Tuesday for Detroit at home, followed by Washington at home, followed by Atlanta on Christmas Day. God help him. I don't give a fuck who they have available and not available. God help them if they can't win these next two games. Washington included. Washington's been playing like shit. So go win these two, then go into Atlanta with a chance to get back to within a game of 500. And then we'll talk. All right. Adios, everybody. Have a good night.